Welcome back to the Keeper of the Home podcast. I'm Cami, creator of this podcast and the YouTube channel and blog TIDBITS Company. Thank you for joining me today. I've been pondering on the scripture in Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. And I think this verse has so much application for the keeper of the home. So I thought we could take some time to kind of envision what seasonal living looks like for a homemaker and really grasp the importance that it is for us to really lean into each season of our lives. And I'm talking both about like the seasons of the year, spring, summer, fall, and winter, as well as the seasons of our lives. Now, there's a lot to think about here, and I'm going to bring in one of my favorites, Anne of Green Gables, to help us really understand what seasonal living looks like. Now, speaking of the season, it's super hot. We're in the middle of summer right now, so I've got my window open. I hope you guys can't hear too much of the birds chirping or kids running around outside, but anyway, we're gonna roll with it. Now, this idea of seasonal living was really prompted by my month of July. A lot went on during this month that really had me thinking. One thing I did was I actually had geared up to take a couple of weeks off of content creation. And I am sorry I started this podcast, got a little bit in it, and then I went silent. I have to apologize for that. It was meant to be a very short break, but I really wanted to take advantage of the season we are in and really spend some time with my kids and do some fun things with them, this season of recreation, if you will. And so I had planned to take a couple weeks off, and that turned into more like a month. What happened was, my kids had camp. We went with them to camp, and there's just a whole bunch of kid things, but also unexpectedly, my grandma passed away, and I shared a little bit about her with you in a previous episode. She made it 92 years on this earth, and this parting was very bittersweet, but it kind of shifted my month as I really wanted to spend some time with family, of course, but also just thinking about her and her life and the seasons of her life. So all of this together has just really had this concept of seasonal living at the top of my mind and given me a lot of thoughts. And I had the amazing opportunity of actually speaking at her funeral. And so as I took some time to read about her life in the books that have been compiled, it just really got me thinking. And I wanted to share some thoughts with you. What also kept me really busy in July was I created a new class in my TIDBITS Company shop. And this class is all about homeschool exploration. So if you or anyone you know has been thinking about or does homeschool, I would love it if you would come check it out or point them my way. I have created really a labor of love project here that I have poured my heart into to help anyone that might be on a journey in homeschooling. And I've tried to compile as many resources as possible. There is a 24-page printable packet that has checklists and guides and all sorts of great information and help for you there. And then 8 hours worth of video instructional content. So if this is of interest to you, you can head to tidbitsandcompany.com, click over to my shop, and then find the classes that I have listed there and enroll. I really hope it's something that if you're needing homeschool help, it will be an amazing resource for you. So that kind of consumed my work time, and then of course everything else that was in summer. But I am back and ready to share this podcast with you. So the question I want you to think about is, why is seasonal living really that important? Why should we as homemakers have a focus on the seasons and do certain things in the seasons? Why is that important, and what kind of impact can that actually have? And I have been reading Anne of Green Gables for the last few months. I think I'm on the 3rd book. And I'm telling you, no one understood seasonal living as much as Anne, and she just really made the most of every season. And there were some quotes of Anne's that I ran into that just, had me step back and had me think. And so as I've kind of searched those out and treasured those, I wanted to compile a few of Anne quotes and then help you see how we can apply that into seasonal living as a homemaker. So the first quote I want to look at is when Anne said, "The year is a book, isn't it, Marilla? Spring's pages are written in mayflowers and violets, summers in roses, autumns in red maple leaves, and winter in holly and evergreens." I love that. And I feel like the lesson that we can get from Anne here is that the seasons of the year can actually help us tell a story of our lives. I love when she said the year is a book, isn't it, Marilla? And I think each season has its symbols. And as I was kind of reminiscing on my grandma's life, I realized that so much of her story and her story with us was actually shaped around the seasons. And it's because of what she did as a keeper of her home for us in those seasons. So, in fall, there was pumpkin painting and leaf jumping. And these are some of the memories that we really hold dear that she did with us grandkids. In the winter, I can think of her just cozy, comforting chicken noodle soup that she would make every winter for us, and how comforting it was. And in the spring, my grandma would put together the best Easter egg hunts. And so spring and the symbol of Easter eggs just all came together to kind of write my grandma's story in my mind. And then in the summer, she loved to take us huckleberry picking and to just be out in nature. And that is a memory that we all hold very dear. So to help you kind of apply this Anne quote in your life, just remember that living seasonally as homemakers can be the key for us in writing our own story and that of our family's stories. So whether that looks like apple cider in the fall, fresh cut flowers on the table in the summer, maybe in the winter you have a tradition of just cuddling up under cozy blankets, watching a movie together, or maybe every spring you bring to your home this enthusiasm for gardening and fresh foods. And all these come together as little symbols in our lives to shape the chapters of our book. And I think that really shows us the power that seasonal living can have as we are writing our own stories. All right, another Anne quote is when she said, "Looking forward to things is half the pleasure of them." And I think the lesson that we can take in that is that when we create seasonal memories for the hearts that we keep, we really give them so much joy and so much to look forward to. And I think there's so much truth in that really looking forward to the things that we can predict or look forward to in a certain season is really half the joy in them. It's looking forward to a little cooler temperatures and the vibe that the homemaker can set in the home. And that really just gears you up and gets you excited for the next season. And I think that joy is important for us to bring into our homes as homemakers. And here's a quick example of this concept. So my husband just got back from his annual backpacking trip that he does with the kids. I admittedly don't love to camp that much, but what I do love is a few days at home by myself. So we're all happy. We all get to do things that we love, but my kids look forward to that so much, and they talk about it all throughout the year and gear up for it. And what is so funny to me is when they come home, they actually are exhausted. They usually have a story about something not so great that happened, or how uncomfortable they were, or how tired they are because they couldn't get comfortable and get sleep. And so there's like the event of itself does not carry just happy memories, but there is enough of those that it is just something really special and treasured that they get to do with their dad every year. So even though the event itself might not actually be all happy, they can look forward to it, and that brings them joy just thinking about it. So how can we apply this as homemakers? How can we help the hearts that we keep just look forward to each season? And it can be really simple things, like maybe you preserve some strawberry jam so that in the dead of winter you can pull it out and it's reminiscent of warmer days and sweet strawberries, and that just gives your family something to look forward to. For us, we love to take fall walks. It just gets absolutely beautiful here with all the colors. And so we often chat about those fall walks. We look forward to them. And in the heat of the summer, as we're thinking about what's coming, it gives you something to look forward to and to remember that this heat does not last forever and that joy is ahead of us. Maybe you have a seasonal or annual trip that you do as a family, and just the act of planning maybe that trip or vacation can bring so much joy in your current season and help you get through maybe what might feel a little more drudgery or work or slower times. So as a homemaker, keeper of the home, we really get to help our family look forward to this season ahead of us. Now, while Anne does a great job at teaching us how to look forward to the seasons ahead, she also does a really good job at helping us find joy and gratitude in the here and now. And there's a couple of quotes of hers that I love that really bring this concept home. I'm sure you've heard of this one where she says, "I'm so glad I live in a world where there are Octobers." And I 100% agree with her on that one. But the character of Anne, you can just imagine her living in an October and feeling intense gratitude for the beauty and the color and the season that she gets to live right now. Anne has also said, or actually this is maybe just a quote from the book, but it says, "Anne has as many shades as a rainbow, and every shade is the prettiest while it lasts." So even though our year has many different seasons, we can really enjoy the one that we're living in right now and feel like it's just absolutely the best. I think that's a great attitude to cultivate. Another quote, she says, "Dear old world, you are very lovely, and I am glad to be alive in you." I just love that feeling of gratitude and the appreciation for each season that you're in. So how do we apply this Anne concept in our lives? I feel like we could do a better job as homemakers to really just live fully in the season that we're currently in and not try to shorten it or skip ahead. And as a society, I think we're really bad at this. I'm sure if you've been visiting a Hobby Lobby or any craft store that you've seen Christmas popping up on the shelves in July. It always upsets me a little bit, and I know a lot of people also complain about that. It does give you something to look forward to, but it also is just like, wait, no, let's just slow it down and enjoy the here and now. And as we're in like the dog days of summer, rather than complaining to our family about how hot it is, really try to find a way to enjoy that heat and to treasure it, because colder days will certainly come. I also think it's kind of sad, like when August comes around, I hear a lot of moms and teachers just panicking, like, oh no, it's over, summer's done. But in reality, you have maybe 2 or 3 more weeks of glorious summer, so make the most of it. Don't try to jump ahead too fast, and just help your family really enjoy the traditions that you get to live in each season, and just squeeze every last drop of enjoyment out of it as possible. This has actually been a really challenging concept for me to apply as a blogger or content creator, because and especially in regards to like the holiday season, we have to think ahead. But I have really found that when I do that too much, I find so much discontentment about the holiday season in particular, or so much dread about it coming because I'm not ready and I really just want to enjoy what we have now. So I've been trying the last few years to put my family as a priority. There have been years in the past where I had Christmas on my mind and even decorated in the house before Halloween. And let me tell you, that brought joy to no one. So I apologize if I'm not a very good content creator and getting that out super early for you, but I really want to live in the here and now and enjoy each season as it comes. And I hope that you feel inspired to do the same and to let the pressures of the world go a little bit, and let's just enjoy what we have. Okay, here's a quote from Anne I absolutely love. And she says, "I'm so glad it's a sunshiny morning, but I like rainy mornings real well too." And I feel like the lesson in this quote is that life is full of variation, and that's what makes it interesting. I can just envision Anne on a sunshiny morning really appreciating that sunshine because of the rainy days. Or when a rainy day comes, you can really enjoy it because of the relief from the heat or the dryness. And so that contrast or that variation in our seasons is actually really what makes each thing more joyful and just what makes life so much more interesting. So how do we apply that as the keeper of our home? I feel like we do need to bring in variation with the seasons, and that is going to help our families enjoy the season that much more. And this can look like swapping out decorations. It doesn't have to be elaborate, but even simple things like, a little decor on the table, pillow covers, what you put on the porch, swapping those out and giving the family some variety throughout the season is actually what makes each one so enjoyable. And something I'm trying to do is really cooking and buying foods that are in season and then trying to let the other ones go. It's really interesting because we have grocery stores and we have food that is not in season, just always available to us. There are always strawberries at the grocery store, even though their in season time period is very short. So I've been trying to just maybe cook more in season and to really think about what would naturally be available in my area or what is at its prime maybe in the grocery stores and cooking with that. And I feel like in doing that has actually made us appreciate the things even more because they are a little limited to us. So strawberries become extremely enjoyable because the season of its top producing and sweetness is so short. Or peach season, really enjoying and making the most of the peaches when they're on and ripe and delicious makes that early fall season just even more special every year. And my goal is to get like crazy sick of peaches by the end of it so that the next year when they're fresh and ripe again, we can really enjoy it because we've had a little break and we've had variation. And you might also want to consider maybe the season of your kids' lives. Maybe you could swap their rooms. Maybe you have a room that is designated for the younger kids, but as they get older, you might want to swap rooms, change things around. I just really feel like if we can create that variation as homemakers, it is just going to make life all the more interesting and helps your family be grateful for every stage. Okay, let's move on to the next Anne quote. She said, "The world looks like something God had just imagined for his own pleasure, doesn't it?" And I love imagining that perhaps the creator of the universe made things just because it gave him joy, that he had so much pleasure in creation. And I think we can apply that very much to our lives because there are people that watch us as homemakers, our children, friends, a spouse, they're watching. And if we create things in our home with an attitude of drudgery or obligation, there isn't a whole lot left there for us to show joy and pleasure. But what happens when we start to create out of joy and pleasure, whether that's a meal, decorating a room, if they can see us having so much joy in that creation, I think it can be very impactful. And as the seasons roll around, they will find more joy in the season if they see you really enjoying the things that that season brings. And just as we ideally look to our Creator to teach and to guide us, I think when we bring that attitude of joy, then those who are under our care can look to us to lead and guide them. So it's really a great concept that I love that Anne taught me, and it's kind of helped me want to do things with more joy and pleasure as I serve my family. Now, I don't have a lot of time left here to dive into the seasons of our life, but I hope you enjoyed kind of pondering how the seasons of the year can help you as a homemaker. And I feel like talking about the seasons of our lives could be an entire podcast on its own, but I do want to just dabble in it a little bit here with you. As I experienced my grandma passing, I just feel like the seasons of the year are so symbolic of the seasons of our lives. And when you look at someone who's lived for 92 years, you can really step back and see that. You can see the seasons of her life that were more symbolic, maybe of spring and summer and fall and winter, and then think on different stages of her life, the childbearing years and the seasons of loneliness, and then the seasons of rest, seasons of caring, and seasons of being cared for. And I just think nature is so symbolic in that way, and it's really fun to think about. Now, Anne said, "It's been my experience that you can nearly always enjoy things if you make up your mind firmly that you will." So I think that every season as a homemaker, a keeper of our home, whether we have those in our nest or they're gone, every season really can bring so much joy if we make up our minds to have that joy and allow that joy into our lives. And if you happen to have some anxiety about any seasons that are ahead that you might be nervous getting towards, I know we're in an interesting season where our kids are all pretty independent. My oldest is 17. The next 2 years are going to bring an entirely new season of our lives that does bring a lot of anxiety and worry in my mind. However, Anne said, "I don't know what lies around the bend, but I'm going to believe that the best does. It has a fascination of its own, that bend." You just gotta love Anne and what she teaches us. But of course, it's the author, Lucy Maud Montgomery, who is the genius in creating this character. And you just really get a glimpse into her mind and how she viewed the world. And we can learn so much from those books. So if you haven't read them, definitely encourage you to pick up Anne of Green Gables and soak it in. She will teach you a lot about being the keeper of your home. Now, I hope in listening that you have a renewed excitement for the current season of the year and the season of your life that you're in. I encourage you to lean into it and to bring each season right into the hearts and the homes that you keep. It is a noble work, and we have the seasons to support us in our work as the keepers of the home. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you've enjoyed it and got some takeaways. I would really appreciate it if you would leave me a comment. If you're watching this on YouTube, that's really easy to do. Leave me a comment, chat with me about the seasons and how maybe you use those to support you in your great work as the keeper of your home. If you could take a minute, if you're listening on a podcast platform, if you could just go and take a minute, leave me a review. This podcast is very new, so any kind of review or 5 stars or shares that you could leave there for me would be hugely supportive, and I would be so grateful to have your help in getting this podcast to reach more people and getting it out there in the world. And then, of course, make sure you're subscribed or follow me along on your favorite podcast platform. Remember, you can watch the video podcasts on my YouTube channel at TIDBITS Company, or Spotify now has the video podcast features if you like to watch or just listen on your favorite podcast platform. That works great as well. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and I will be back very soon to share more inspiration for the keeper of the home.